And what advice would you give the young lady?
Take good care of him.
Okay, here's one that thank God you don't have to answer. It was when your wife or spouse died. Okay, how many children did you have together?
3.
And can you give me their names and birthplaces and dates?
Let's see, James, 1961, Okinawa. Jenny Sue, 1962, Okinawa. Mary Lou, April 9th, 1965, San Diego, California.
Well, I know I don't remember this all stuff. I know
Why did you give each of your kids the names that you give them? Who gave them the names? Who chose the names of your children? Was it you or was it Setsu or did you do it together?
Me, I was the boss.
Okay, and why did you name them the specific names that you named them?
Jimmy after my brother. Jenny,
I think Grandma.
grandma name. My mom named her.
And what about
Mary Lou after my youngest sister.
Do you remember anything about your children when they were really small that kind of amazed you, that made you think, boy, they're pretty good at that, anything?
No, he was average.
What was the funniest thing that you can remember that one of your kids ever said or did? Can you remember anything funny
No,
that any of your kids ever said or
No.
did? What did you find that was most difficult about raising your children?
nothing.
If you had to do it all over again, would you change in any way the way you raised your family?
No,
Did you spoil any of your children?
no,
Were you strict or lenient as a parent?
spare the rod, spoil the child.
How did you first hear, for the very first time, that you were going to be a grandparent? And how did you feel about it? And what, were you phoned or did they tell you in person? And how did you feel about it that you were going to be a grandparent?
I don't remember.
What advice would you have now at your time of life for your children or your coming grandchildren or great-grandchildren about being a parent? What advice would you give them?
I say spare the rod and spoil the child.
Do you ever remember of any of your grandparents, either on your mother's side or father's side, ever describe anything that happened in their life that you can remember? Anything that your grandpa's told you?
My grandpa Jackson got in a fight in a factory once, and the guy pulled a knife on him, so he took a big wrench and killed him.
Okay.
Grandpa Jeff.
Any of the others?
Yeah, Grandpa Camel used to get out in the yard and raise his fist and cuss God.
I never knew that.
Oh, he was bad.
Do you remember their deaths? Any of their deaths?
I was gone.
Okay, you weren't around when any of them died.
Nope.
What was your wife's parents' names?
Can't pronounce them. Japanese names.
And did they also live in Okinawa?
Yes.
Do you remember anything about their deaths, or were you around any
We
of the
was
deaths?
in the States.
What was your mom and dad's full names?
Ollie Lorene Campbell. Clarence Jones Jackson.
That's a strange name, that middle name. Do you know where it came from
He's
for
named
Dad?
after a doctor.
Can you, what are some things in particular that you can remember about your father?
Strict.
When and where did he die?
Indianapolis, Indiana. He died because Mom died.
Do you remember the year?
No, I don't. 2003.
What do you remember about it when he died?
That they left him by himself and went to church, and he was sick when they got back.
Okay, what were some things in particular that you remember about your mother?
She was a worker, a nurse.
When did she die and where?
2003. No, she died Christmas. 2002.
And where?
Indianapolis, Fortville, Indiana. No, Indianapolis, Indiana.
What do you remember about it when she died? Something that sticks out in your mind about when she died.
Sad.
Did you know any of your great grandparents?
Craig. No.
Who was the oldest in age person that you remember meeting as a child?
I guess Grandpa. I don't know.
You never met Mom's mom or nothing?
Oh,
I
no.
mean, Grandma or nothing. Okay. Did you have any of the childhood diseases? What were they?
Measles, mumps.
Chicken pox?
I don't know if they had chicken pox or not.
Do you have any health problems right now that would be considered hereditary in our family, basically, or passed down through the generations, possibly?
Heart.
Heart. What do you regularly do right now for exercise? I know you used to walk 3 miles a lot, but evidently not right now. What do you do right now, basically for your exercise?
Right now?
Yeah,
Walk.
walking. Did you ever have any bad habits in the past?
Yes. I smoked for 55 years. I drank up to 1972. That's it.
Were you ever the victim of a crime?
Oh, no.
Never robbed or
No.
nothing? Never burglarized or nothing? Have you ever had a serious accident?
Serious accident. No, I ain't never had a serious accident.
So have you ever been hospitalized?
Yeah, I had a quad bypass when I was 65.
In your lifetime, what would you consider the most important inventions that have been made during your lifetime?
Jet planes.
Anything else?
I can't think of nothing newer. I remember when the jet planes came out. Oh, television.
That's a good one.
Computers.
Great one.
That's it.
Do you remember when you first saw your first TV?
My first TV?
When you seen one, not the one you
Yeah,
bought.
1945. Needmore, Indiana.
Can you remember the first television show you ever
Howdy
watched?
doody.
How is the world different now from when you were a child? In your estimation.
Too many Democrats.
Not me.
Hey, that's the question.
Do you remember any of the family, any of your family, your grandmothers, your grandfathers, or mom and dad ever discussing world events or politics?
No.
How did the Great Depression affect you?
I was a baby.
What wars can you remember that have been fought in your lifetime?
Second World War, Korean, Vietnam, and the Gulf states.
What were you doing when you first heard that Pearl Harbor had been bombed? Can you remember when you heard that Pearl Harbor had been bombed? And
Yeah, I probably listened to the radio and heard it on the radio.
how did World War II affect you?
It didn't.
How did the Korean War affect you in any way?
I joined the Marine Corps.
How did the Vietnam War affect you?
I served in Vietnam.
Can you name a good friend that you have known the longest?
No.
Can you remember a good friend from your past?
No.
Have you got a good friend now?
No.
Well, then I guess I'm not going to ask you how many years you've been friends. Has there ever been anyone in your entire life that you would consider a kindred spirit or a soulmate?
My wife.
And why did you feel a special bond toward her?
I guess I loved her.
What were some of the hardest choices that you can remember? What were some of the hardest choices you can remember ever having to make in life?
Getting out of the Marine Corps. That's right.
What person really changed the course of your life by something that he or she said?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Nobody.
Do you remember any advice or comments that had a big impact on how you lived your life?
No.
If you could change something about yourself, you actually had the power to change something about yourself, what would it be?
I would have stayed in the Marine Corps.
What's the scariest thing that ever happened to you?
Being in Vietnam.
What kind of musical instruments have you ever played?
Today?
Saxophone. Alto saxophone.
You know,
Church music.
How would you describe your sense of humor?
Yeah,
Fair.
it's fun.
What G-rated
Yeah.
What G-rated activities have you especially enjoyed as an adult?
She can do it right. I need
Cheat rate.
Specify. I don't know what you're talking about.
Nothing intimate.
I know.
Just things you like to do as an adult that you enjoy.
Oh, I like to bowl
That was-
and golf.
Do you still bowl and golf?
No, too old.
Do you have any hobbies?
Okay, yeah,
Bowling and golf.
What's the most amazing thing that ever happened to you in your life that you would consider the most amazing thing? The best thing that ever happened to you in your life?
I made staff NCO in the Marine Corps.
What organizations or groups have you belonged to?
USMC. Period.
Can you remember or describe a time and a place in your life that you can remember really feeling truly at peace and happy to be alive?
Always.
What's the most beautiful place that you've ever visited? And what was it like?
Russellville, Arkansas. I like the rivers.
What's the longest trip you ever gone on and where did you go?
Let's see. 1960. 42 days on an LST to Okinawa.
What's been your favorite vacation out of any during your working years? Any vacations you took? What was your favorite one that you would say stands out above?
Hawaii, 1991.
And what made it so special?
It was my first vacation.
Is there anything that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't, and haven't had a chance, or haven't had the money, or anything you've always really wanted to do, but haven't done it?
Yeah, moved to Hawaii.